Welcome back to another episode of the podcast, From the Depths of Darkness to the Light of Success. I am your host, Chris Swick, and on this podcast, we talk about mental health, addictions, ADHD, and really anything anyone's afraid to talk about. We talk about it on this platform. I believe everyone's story is valuable at the end of the day. Does not matter what walk of life you come from. You're all welcome on my platform. You can find my podcast over on YouTube at the same name as the podcast, From the Depths of Darkness to the Light of Success. You can hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications. Also, find it over on Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you can listen to podcasts in audio format. It's all there. And check me out over on Instagram at Depths of Darkside. With no further ado, I'd love to introduce you my next guest, the founder of Comeback Snacks, Emily O'Brien. You want to take it away and let them know a little bit about you, Emily, and what you're all about?
Sure. So I'm Emily O'Brien from Hamilton, Ontario, and I'm currently the founder of Comeback Snacks, which is a gourmet popcorn company that I founded it in one of the most unlikely places I thought I'd ever be, and that was federal prison. I went through a difficult time in my life, hung out with people that didn't have the best intentions in mind for me. Unfortunately, ended up on a trip with someone, which turned into be a drug smuggling trip, which turned into be a very poorly executed drug smuggling trip where I was arrested at Pearson and then sent to prison for 4 years. And I served my sentence in different forms. So I had a year actually inside federal prison and then had to live in a halfway house. And then I moved into the community. So yeah, and it was in prison that I really saw how we're all the same. We all make mistakes, but we all deserve a second chance at life because often we only have one.
Exactly. So let's take it right to the founding of your business in federal prison there. What gave you that drive to start your business, Comeback Snacks, while being incarcerated?
So I knew I needed to create my own comeback. I knew that I had a lot of work to do in terms of reparations with my loved ones and things like that. But I also knew that I had a lot of anxieties about re-entering the workforce, and a lot of people in there did as well. I also realized I had a lot of access to things. Like I had a really good family and I had a really good network of friends. And so I knew that I could use all these things and harness them to build something that mattered. And so prison was something that brought obviously people together and food in prison. Some people cook their favorite movie for their favorite meal from back home, or we'd have birthday parties for people and stuff like that. So it became this really tight knit community. And this all started during like a comeback snacks, the popcorn moment, I guess they popped during the Super Bowl party that we had. And this is obviously very tame Super Bowl party. But yeah, we were enjoying popcorn and all these other snacks, and we put some like different combinations of spices on it. And then I was like, maybe I can use popcorn as a vector to create a new platform. And that is the comeback platform that, you know, which is heavily focused on reintegration after incarceration and just all the challenges that come along with that.
And what was it like when you were finished your sentence incarcerated inside? What was it like reintegrating back into society? I know you said you didn't serve a long term inside, but you went to halfway house after to serve the rest of your sentence, then back into the community. But after doing that year and a little bit inside there at the federal penitentiary, what was it like coming back? Or did you have lots of anxiety about coming back outside sort of thing?
I was excited, but I also didn't know that coming into the world, even though a year can go by pretty fast, you still have all these new barriers that are set up for you, and you're still heavily surveilled and monitored in different ways. I could barely leave the city without asking for permission. I couldn't sleep anywhere else. I had to only stay at my house, and I broke this rule set, but
Hey, I feel
but,
you there too. I was on house arrest at one time as well, when I was only allowed to go to work and then come home, or I had a certain amount of time on a Sunday, I would be able to go out and get my whatever I needed for the week sort of thing.
yeah. Yeah, and when especially at the halfway house, you had to call anytime you left a destination, and then by the end of the day, you also had to call from a landline. So it's like, who I'm not around people that have landlines. So I'd have to go to, like, to Starbucks and I'd be like, "Oh, I'm on parole, and I can't need to call my halfway house." It's so embarrassing. Yeah, so there's definitely some elements that were frustrating, and especially in terms of building comeback snacks. When you start a business, like, you need to be in so many places, and so just managing that while making sure I didn't break any rules and get thrown back in. Yeah, that was tough for sure, but my first job out of prison was actually at a gym. So I took my resume, which I actually made in prison, and it was all the jobs that I had in prison. So it's like, "Oh, garbage collector, carpenter." And I used that as my resume and said, "I'm just coming out of incarceration," and I think gyms are also about new starts. trying to get healthy and just be part of a new community. And yeah, so I actually got the job with that incredibly unique approach.
That's amazing to hear the unique approach you took making this resume in prison with all the jobs that you had while you were there. I
Yeah.
love that. It's an awesome idea.
Yeah, it worked out pretty well. And I was also very lucky in terms of the fact that the halfway house was in Dundas, Ontario. And I don't know where the listeners are around the world, but it was only about 10 minutes from my mom's house. So I could just go to my mom's house because she's an approved guardian or person. I could go to her house during the day. So having that proximity to family and also friends also really.
And it's important to have that connection and have that support, especially in the situation that you were in, the tough times that you had to endure ahead of you as well. Because some people look at addicts differently now, or look at people, as a drug smuggler like yourself, differently than what they probably would. Did you find that a lot coming out, or did you have other people that you knew that would look at you differently after
I
that
bet
happened?
there were, but there were also tons of people that didn't, right? Like, they looked at me as me and knew who I was and what I was capable of, and they're excited to see what I was gonna do with this, and 3.5 years later, we're 700 stores, and we're working with government officials now and changing laws, and whether it has to do with labor laws or, like, actual just, like, judicial laws, right? We just changed one that removes all mandatory minimum sentencing, so it gives discretion back to the judges, and I was, like, a consultant on this federal framework with the government. So it was awesome.
That's amazing to be a part of this framework for these new laws that are coming into place, or they're creating these new things, because it's so important for with these mandatory minimum sentences. It's because, like, in the States, it's crazier than it is up here for the people that are listening. You know what I mean? I think we have it pretty easy, but there's still lots of work to be done, though, like you're
Mm.
saying.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta start somewhere. So
For sure. And what drove you to help with creating these new laws and being on these boards sort of thing? Was it things that you saw happening around you to people that you knew while you were inside and stuff like that?
yeah, I did. I also saw how harmful these sentences actually were, especially for a lot of people who didn't commit them for greed reasons. They might have done it for as a result of abuse or of just being tricked or forced into certain situations or poverty or just uneducated. Like you're very a lot of people in there most people I knew that were convicted of the same sentence that I was, they were just given such heavy sentences, and they're their moms too. I know you're, like, separating your family. I am a believer in justice for wrongdoing. I think you need to have both, but I also think it has to be fair.
100%. And I feel you there too. There's so many times that I've seen people serve crazy sentences for the most minor of things as well. You know what I mean? And don't really get it though, still. Like, there has to be, uh, both sides sort of thing have to be heard as well. You know what I mean? There's minor little petty crimes and stuff like that, and you're getting 5 years for it just because of the color of your skin or whatever it is. You know what I mean? There's so many different injustices around our country that need to be resolved in so many ways too.
Yeah.
So, what is one great piece of advice you can give the younger generation coming up under us so maybe they don't follow in the footsteps of you? Like, where you were and where you are today is two totally different Emilys, but so they don't go down the same path you did.
It was hard for me to know what path I was gonna go down, and everyone so in terms of that question, I think that it's not necessarily about going down that path, but it's more importantly about how to pick yourself back up and how to move forward from these things that are gonna happen in our life, and it might not be as serious as mine, but it could be Just just as serious in someone else's life for a completely different thing, and we're all gonna struggle in life, and we're all gonna do errors, whether large or small, but I think it's all about you have to put in work to make a comeback. It's not a handout, and it's not something that you necessarily deserve. You have to earn it, and it takes a lot of you have to look inward, but you also have to look outward and use what you have around you, but you also have to look what's inside.
I love how you say, look what's inside, dig deep too. Like, we all have that strength, like you're saying, to dig deep and find those great strengths that we have. You might not even know. So it's always good to listen to others too, because others will tell you your strengths, but you got to actively listen to them. And then you can put those to good use too. Like, some things you might not be good at, but some things you are. Use your strengths to your advantage at the end of the day.
Yeah.
What do you think one of your greatest strengths is that's helped you create this, let's start by saying, this empire that you're creating? Because you're all over the place now. You know what? Loblaws. I sent you a picture the other week there
Yeah.
I found it in Loblaws. I was like, it was funny. I got my daughter to take those pictures. I was like, "Go
Aw.
take these pictures for me so I can send these to you." And
Aw.
but you're at the ACC now. I like calling it the ACC still. So,
Yeah. Do you follow the Sky Dome still too?
the Sky Dome, yep, I still call it the Sky Dome. It's not the Rogers Center to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're at 7-Elevens, you're in Loblaws. I do believe we were chatting not too long ago, you're getting into Sobeys now, or you are in there.
Yeah, yeah, we actually are gonna be onboarding with Voila. We were just at Sobeys headquarters last week because they actually chose our company as one of a select few who they're focusing on creating really solid partnerships with. So it's been awesome. And obviously, with big grocery, there's challenges as well in terms of execution from the corp. There's often a disconnect between store level and corporate just because of the magnitude of the number of stores and labor shortages and all those things. But you asked me what my greatest talent is or skill.
Greatest strength is that helped you persevere through this and create this empire.
I think because I like to get shit done. I like to take because
Take
I knew that I
action.
wanted to prove to myself I could do it, and also it's my way of, like, fighting for something. You have all this energy, and you can either fight for something that's nefarious, right? You can turn that into very toxic energy if you're mad about something or you wanna play the victim, but I think if you don't in my case, I didn't wanna play that victim role. I was like, "Alright, I'm just gonna do this," and it was just the desire to do it, right? But I also think it's something called emotional profit, which is, like, a term that I came up with, and it's work that helps build you as a person just as much as you help your business thrive in the marketplace. And this can come in so many different forms, but for me, it's like knowing, oh, this person sent me a really nice text message, or this person sent me an email from Australia saying she heard me on a podcast and how it really helped her find her entrepreneurial spirit during COVID. And she was actually a police officer. So it's just knowing that you can help people in so many different ways that are actually going down so many walks of life. It doesn't just have to be people coming out of incarceration. And when people send you how you helped them, that kind of whether it's a text or, I don't know, a email or just a smile, you really like to do that work because you know that you're making a difference, and I think we all crave meaning.
That is so true though, and you are making a difference in this industry, especially for other women in particular coming out. You're showing them, even ones more so that are incarcerated, that this can be done. It doesn't matter that you
Mhm.
are incarcerated. You've now created this amazing business that's nationwide. I don't know if you've broken into the States yet, but I know you're across Canada.
Yep,
So,
we just got our first retail store in the US, and guess what store it is? It's actually Indigo, their only US location.
oh, awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Congratulations on that. And you're breaking down barriers for other women to show them that anyone can do this, or anyone in particular, they can do whatever they want and whatever they put their mind to. So it's like a whole new addiction, isn't it? But a good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. No, most of
Yeah.
the time you still gotta have I don't believe in balance, I'm sorry, like, when people are like, "Oh, find that perfect balance," it doesn't exist, especially with entrepreneurship, like, you make that choice because you don't like things to be the same all the time, right? You like things that are crazy fun and crazy wild and that'll and crazy creative, but that might also lead to crazy bouts of stress and sadness or losing hope, so that's where you have to just know that it's gonna be a one freaking wild ride.
And have you had any of those bouts of stress, I presume, or thoughts of losing hope? And how did you overcome those?
I had a lot actually in the beginning when I was on parole, just because I had a lot of from the correctional staff. They were just very nitpicky about every single thing that I did, and they were just so doubtful in the beginning. In the beginning, trying to catch me in a way that was gonna basically fuck me up, right? Trying to catch me doing something wrong, or so that I could go back to jail. Like sometimes they're weird like that. So there is definitely a lot of stressful times, like just from driving around or I don't know, thinking I was doing something wrong when I wasn't, and
It's probably already always in the back of your head, that paranoia that they've instilled in you when they're trying to catch you, eh?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So what did you do to push through that then and prove them wrong?
Um,
Because here you are
I
now.
had no choice. Time moves on. Like you just, I didn't push through it. It pushed me through. I was going through. Time happens no matter what. So I just acknowledging that life is going to happen and life is going to be tough. Knowing that every day is also going to be different is something that you always have to put in your back pocket.
It's so true though. You know what I mean? Like time's not going to stand still for you.
Mhm.
We can't worry about what just happened. And I don't know. I can't predict the future. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Yes, we have our days planned, certain things, meetings and stuff like that. But I try to live in the present moment as much as possible today because that's what brings me joy. Just being in that present moment with whoever's in the room.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And what does mental health mean to you today? This shows about mental health and stuff like that. But what does that mean to you today?
I think it means learning to manage your, like, I think sometimes seeing stress as a friend and not something to be afraid of. Because the more we're afraid of stress, the more it actually stresses us out. So I think when there's a lot to get done, like, I know what's happening and I know that I'm under this pressure, but I'm not like, "Oh my god, am I under all this pressure?" And I don't let it take over me. I just live with it. It just sits beside me instead of making it worse than it actually really is. I think that's one of my personality traits that I've always had, though. I think because I haven't been afraid of risk and it's gotten me into trouble, but now it's just learning how to manage, like, the healthy risks and the healthy stress, and learning and knowing that it's okay to be, like, sad or mad about things. Like, you have to go through those emotions. You can't just bottle them up because we all know what happens then.
Now, do you have someone or do you write things down? Are you someone to journal or do you have someone that you talk to if you're going to having a shitty day, just to vent to someone?
Yeah, I have tons of not tons, I have very close sorry, yeah, close group of people who we all talk about certain things. You can't really talk to someone else. There's certain things you can't really talk to people about the stress. If it's work business related, I'm not gonna ask my friend who, I don't know, 'cause it doesn't have their own business, you know what I mean? So it's like you have to make sure that the people that you're getting to help you and are actually have wisdom on it and not just an opinion.
For sure. It's something that's going to be meaningful back and someone that you can trust with their response and it's going to stay between you two or whatever the case may be as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So going back into addiction here, what was your rock bottom while you were battling your addiction? Did you say it
Cocaine and
was
alcohol.
getting pulled or cocaine and alcohol, sorry?
What was my rock bottom? I think it wasn't when I got arrested because I didn't know, like, the seriousness and how much it feel like, "Oh, you got arrested, it must be your rock bottom." I was like, "No," because I didn't know anything yet. Like, I thought I was just gonna be scrubbing graffiti off a wall. So, I wasn't really nervous, I wasn't really afraid when I
Were
got
you
arrested.
naive to the point what had just happened?
Yeah, oh, yeah, but that's and then once you find out, I don't know if I had an actual rock bottom day. I think it was definitely a period because you have to, like, sometimes lie on the dirt before you realize you don't wanna be covered in it anymore. So, I think it was definitely the period after I'd actually been arrested, but once I found out how serious it was, and then I was mad. So, for me, rock bottom is actually being mad, and because I don't like being mad. And but in that whole phase, I was just, like, blaming kind of everyone and except for me, and it wasn't until I got arrested again for breaching my conditions that my lawyer was like, "You know what? If you breach these conditions again, they're not gonna let you out." And so that was, like, my springboard. So, yeah, again, I was just tired of feeling like that, and then I acted out, and I paid some price, and I guess that's where the turnaround happened.
It's just, you know what? I'm fucking done being like this sort of thing. I'm gonna make instead of going down that path, you want to make something of yourself now because you'd gone to university and all that as well, haven't you? Not?
Yeah.
Yeah. And are you doing with what you're doing? What were you doing in university before all this happened?
I was in a program called International Development at Guelph. So I'd done a lot of traveling through that program just from my personal curiosity of other places, turned into international drug smuggling. Failed at it. But yeah, but most of the skills that I learned in life, I don't think they were actually from my academia. It was from working different jobs while I was at university or volunteering on certain boards and because my math wasn't good enough to get into the business classes that I wanted to get into, the business program or the nutritional science program, which is actually hilarious now because I work in both those fields, and it had nothing to do with my degree.
Hey, it's sometimes just a blessing in disguise where you end up, though.
Yeah.
It took you, like you said, going to prison to create this national business that you've created. And you're at the Leafs games, you're in 7-Elevens now, Sobeys, Loblaws, everywhere.
Yeah, the Loblaws one, just for clarity, the Loblaws one is It's a test run, so we don't have a permanent listing there yet, but yeah, so we're gonna see how that went. But it was also very hard working because you have to manage all these stores, and when there's only 2 of you, like, it's me and my business partner, and then we have, like, certain staff help out with different events and stuff like that, but we also have manufacturers now, so we book times on the lines, and then we that's how it gets made. It's called, yeah, co-man or co-manufacturer,
Yeah, so
and,
you don't have your own plant yet or anything like that, your own personal space to do all this. You rent spots at different manufacturers, it sounds.
yeah, yeah, because we have the 2 lines, like, we have the Camera line and the Savory line, they're both made in different, places.
Nice. I wish you guys all the best with that.
Thanks.
And sounds like amazing, sounds like you guys know what you're doing and stuff like that. But before we go
Sounds
too no,
What's
hey,
that?
it's all a trial and error, right?
Yeah.
Before we go though, I like to talk about triggers a little bit. What do you do to battle your triggers when they are
For full clarity, like, I do drink alcohol.
Yeah, no, and that's
Um,
totally fine.
yeah, so I don't wanna say I'm abstinent. But I've also learned to live comfortably with it, safely. But when I was at that really bad time in my life, I was using drugs and alcohol like, for medication, like, instead of celebration. So now I've realized that I was like, "I'm not gonna let this own me for the rest of my life." Nothing owns me, it clearly is. I'm very independent like that. So, alcohol isn't gonna own me either. But I guess, I don't know, I can
Like, if cocaine was brought out around you or a drug or whatever it is that you were into, would you be able to walk away from it and say or is that like I know for myself if it was brought out, I'd have to leave because that was just that's a no-brainer to me. I don't wanna go down that path after getting so far, working so hard to get 3 years clean and sober.
I think it would be the people that I was around. Yeah,
And the
so, like,
people
that's
that you
why
hang out
I
now.
don't hang out with because I used to go to all these parties, like, late night in Toronto, like, I'd be out till 6 a.m., sometimes 10 a.m., like, I don't know how I did it, but I did, and obviously, I don't even barely talk to those people anymore. It's just they're just drug acquaintance party friends. Like, then it wasn't even fun at 6 a.m. And you're sketched out, taking an Uber home, and it's bright out, and it's just like a really gross feeling. So,
I
yeah,
feel you there, it's acquaintances, like, I don't even talk to anyone that I used to hang out with because none of them are my friends, to be quite honest. They're all acquaintances at the end of the day at best. I can
yeah,
count the few friends that I have left that are solid people on one hand, and that's all I need. I don't need 30, 40 people to hang out with every weekend or whatever it is.
yeah. I don't even like going to parties where I don't know people anymore. It's like I like to just unless it's work, but that's like, different. I like meeting people that have like the same energy as me, and people just bang ideas one off the other, just talk about things and try to solve problems instead of just going to a house party where you barely know any people and people are partying. And yeah, like I don't really have time for those conversations because they're meaningless.
Really are. It's not it's if it's not gonna serve you any purpose or take you anywhere, then what's the point in having the conversation? I wanna have meaningful, purposeful conversations today. I don't care about the negativity and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like the cocaine conversations where people are just high and like talking like they're like your best friend and you're never gonna see them again.
Hey, when I go out, sometimes I won't. I still go to the bars. I still like to go to the nightclubs,
Yeah.
but I feel better when I get everyone home that came with me safe.
Yeah.
It's nice to go out and still enjoy. I enjoy non-alcoholic beer. I won't. Well, there's some great non-alcoholic products out there these days for everyone to be inclusive. I love just being included in things still, and I feel like I'm included when I can go out and do all these things too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You just
Absolutely.
got to know your limits or know if it's not feeling proper to you. I just leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where can everyone find you or find if they wanna grab some comeback snacks, and where can they find Emily on social media and stuff like that?
My Instagram is at ems.o'brien. My company Instagram is at comeback snacks. So you can see all of the stuff that we do for the mission, for the people that are coming out that are meeting our comebacks. You can see like the press that we've done and the products. You can also buy them online under the shop section. So comebacksnacks.com/shop. And there's also a locations tab on the website as well. So you can see the stores. But I would recommend calling the stores before because sometimes they're stock out.
Gotta get some more in there. What you
Yeah.
just mentioned too, I forgot about that. You, give back to certain charities and foundations and stuff like that. Do some of the profits go to them?
We don't have a model where it's like a certain number from every bag because like we're still so small and you have to if you're gonna be an entrepreneur, you have to live.
No, I get that.
Yeah, so what we do is we'll do like seasonal fundraisers and I'll also do teach workshops and or classes or mentor. Like I've been a probably at least a dozen organizations that we want to work with. Just if you're talking for half an hour and you're giving your time or whatever it is, right? And you're coaching people. I was a mentor for this organization called Rise, and they had all women that were coming out of difficult situations that were starting their own business. And so I got to mentor out, which is great.
That's amazing, and I'm so proud of you how far you've come, Emily. I just
Oh,
love following your story and seeing what you're up to and stuff like that all the time, and we finally made this happen. There's a few
I
hiccups.
know.
All good. One time she was out on the other side of the country,
Yep.
jet-lagged, stuck on the 401, and the list goes on. But no, I truly thank you for taking the time out of your day to come on the show. It means a lot to me, means a lot to
Aw,
whoever listens to this episode. So thank you again. If there's one thing I can take away from this episode for myself, it'd be perseverance and redemption. You have an amazing redemption story. Keep
thank
pushing
you.
through and keep doing what
Thanks
you're
so
doing.
much.
You're very welcome. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.
Oh, I'm gonna go to bed.
Take care and have a great night.
Thank you.